set this one up first. We'll come back to this.
Or we can maybe...
Hey, Jim? This goes off in your room.
Okay. Is that you tripping stuff?
So...
laser tripwires. Now we'd set up this laser tripwire, and as you can see, this is one being set up. Okay. Now they're fascinating because if you cross the beam, they just simply alert you. Now, throughout the night, throughout the investigation, 3 days in, we'd been using infrared. Most people tend to use infrared in investigations, but we weren't really getting a lot. And we thought, okay, let's change the method, only because of one recording that we got. We got a recording, and by all intents and purposes, it said, when we were doing infrared testing, it bothers us. It bothers us. We didn't know. We were trying to figure out, what does that mean? What it bothers us? And we just sort of sat there at the table, rummaging around, trying to think what that might mean, when a little light bulb went on and thought, okay, are they referring to the infrared we're using? Don looked at me, I looked over at Don, and shrugged our shoulders, and okay, let's change the method of investigation. Let's drop the infrared, let's go with optical laser. And we did. And I'd literally set this up on the landing, literally, walked away, set it up, walked away. Now, there was 2 of them further down the corridor. And I got to the bottom of the stairs, and what happened was it went straight into alert mode. Beep, 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 all going off. What was interesting is, I immediately stopped, looked at Don, I turned around, this is all in within seconds, and I ran up the stairs. And as I ran up those stairs, I heard something running away. It sounded like small feet, sounded like a child. And what was really interesting is that it set off the second detector further down the hall, as if it made its escape. And I'm hot behind it, I'm running after this thing, I can't see anything, but I'm running after it. And I'm running down the hall, it's set the next one off, it's headed it off before me into the back bedroom. Nothing there, no idea what it was, but we heard the small footsteps. It was like we were pursuing something like a child. But isn't it interesting that it went off immediately? Maybe it was just something that was checking out what it was, what the equipment it was. Maybe it was just something that panicked and ran off, and was, of course, being alerted and being captured on these.
I was in there with him, we had a couple of words, also coinciding with the alarm going off. Just to see Keith now, to see what monitoring he's actually got in this house.
Yeah, so this is my master bedroom, and for the last 2 hours I had an idea, and I'm sort of kind of running with it, of lacing the bedroom and the bathroom with tripwire. Okay. Because I've noticed during this time of day, when I'm home working, normally it's here by myself, they walk a path of bathroom, bedroom, hallway.
Oh, that's what it seems to be.
That's what it seems to be, yeah. So I figured, why not just lace what I think that pathway to be, have a camera in there, hasn't been a camera in the bedroom in a long time, that can pan to all my lay down wires on the floor, bed. I can pivot left to right, up, down.
And then, of course, if the alarm does go on, you can see if there's anything obvious.
I can see it. I can monitor it from my cell phone, from computer in the office, and from computer downstairs, and never have to go into this room again until time to retrieve those items. But yeah, I can monitor it, put some voice record. Without a doubt, one of the most successful tools to be used in the Bothell house by paranormal investigators would have to be the tripwire. What is known as, or often referred to as, laser tripwire has been around. The technology has been around for a long time. It's a very effective tool to prevent or to notify when an intruder or a burglary is about to occur or has occurred. There are also dummy down versions of tripwire sold as toys. The tool itself is simple. The concept is simple. It's very inexpensive to obtain, very easy to purchase or to buy. And it was very successful in the Bothell house. The men, the guys, Steve Mera and Don Phillips, when they arrived from the UK, applied this methodology and were able to get decent sound results by the tripwire. And like I said, the concept being you have an invisible beam, infrared beam. There are active and passive infrared tripwire devices. We use both throughout the investigation at the Bothell house. And once that beam is crossed, a an alert is sent. The alert is relatively loud. That's by design. It's to notify the intruder that they are or have been detected and hopefully will desist in their burglary. But from a paranormal point of view, as you see in this video and others on my channel, it's to notify the researchers who are usually elsewhere in the home that something is occurring that tripped the wires off. I mean, if a beam is crossed, the next question you have to ask yourself is, what crossed the beam? And you have to rule out, debunk any error in your application. But typically, the solution is sound. The hypothesis is, if something crossed the beam, what was it? What is it? And every time that we went to research it, we found nothing upstairs, which means something invisible crossed the beam. One of the things I did, and this was based on the success that I saw Steve and Dawn having with the tripwires, was I pivoted from motion sensor cameras, motion detect cameras, and bought my own tripwire, and began setting those up while Steve and Dawn were in the home during their second visit, April 2016, with their observer, SSPR president Nick Kyle. When something works in the paranormal field or in paranormal investigation, I'm a firm believer that you can never have too much evidence. And if whatever's in the home is responding to the stimuli, which is the tripwire, and other homes is different, every home is different, but it seems in this home, the Bothell house, these spirits had a keen interest in the tripwire, whether that was because they could not avoid it. The laws of physics applies to them like it applies to us when it comes to crossing the beams, or they found these tripwires just too irresistible to leave alone, meaning they began to manipulate them. And there is evidence, and I do believe a percentage of the tripwires going off was due to the spirits trying to get our attention. They want us to respond. They seem to relish the thought or enjoy watching investigators respond to something they did. So as you will see throughout this video and other videos on my channel, there are moments where we respond. We walk into a room, walk into a hallway, and the tripwires stop. Literally, they just stop ringing. You walk out, return to normal, and the tripwires start ringing again. So there's definitely some, I guess, factual belief that the spirits are in control more so than we are. But like I said, it seems to be working. You can never have too much evidence. And it was good to see the spirits, while I had investigators home with me, manipulate, orchestrate with the tripwire. As you can see here, it was the master bedroom, probably maybe second or almost third most active room in the house. And we got some good evidence as a result of the tripwires. And as you know by my channel, some EVPs as well. As the gentlemen are talking, so are the spirits, and we captured those voices of what they were saying. So this was pretty good.
So we're going to go in now. What we do, quite interesting chain of events today so far, in comparison to the last couple of days. that stop it? No.
Not the one that's making the sound. That's what's making the sound.
Hang on. Oh no, that's fine.
Yeah, that's passive infrared. That's good. That's got infrared as well, possibly.
Keith, this is in the middle of the floor.
Yeah, that's how I left it. Yeah.
You left it on its side.
Yeah.
Okay, so which one?
From tilting over. Yeah, on the side.
So we've got the same one again going on between there and there. From there to the bathroom, this straight across there. So what can we do?
But this was going off before I walked in.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that, I know,
Yeah.
I know. Question is, hang on, I'll leave light in. Okay, we've had several activations.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Is that me?
Yeah.
Let's try that again. Stop that again. That is exactly what we heard. System on, but that wasn't in here at that time.
That's weird.
That's what we heard.
3 times.
Okay, so we've had several activations in the last few minutes. We probably had as many as 6, 7 or more. Okay, we can get activations all day, or we can change something slightly.
Okay.
What I think might be worth trying. I'm going to put that. We can keep doing this all day, and it's not showing us anything. We've already established we've got multiple activation.
Yeah.
What can we change to
I've
make?
stuck a camera in there.
Yeah, but even with the camera in there, it'll just show it's still going off. What
Yeah.
can we kind of do to make that slightly different now? That will be even more interesting should it go off again.
Well, you could hang that feather from the door. And lock a camera on it.
Or we
Got
can
all
actually,
windows shut and the van's not on.
or we can shorten the distance between the two, or something like that. Just something different, so it's a slightly different setup. To
Well,
what
which
we've
one's
got.
going up? Have we established which?
Yeah,
Which one's going up? Have we established which?
yeah, this to there.
That one's going up to there.
That one
Yeah.
to that one.
Yeah.
So how about we move that? Let's just
Camera's not
Turned
sound.
off. The camera's just turned off. Just turned off.
Turned off.
No, no.
What's that, Steve?
The camera's turned off.
What do you just put in there?
I just turned it on. It was running here. You have to press the button for it to turn off.
Unless the battery's drained.
I would have just put the battery in it. Charged.
And there's joystick.
Yeah, you put a battery before you came upstairs.
That's drained.
Mhm.
I would just put it in. Charged. Fully
Okay,
charged.
so fully charged battery just drained as well.
That's fully charged battery.
And that's the room. Beam is broken.
It's
So just took that
That's
out.
the
the
one.
charger
That's
and
the room.
charged
The
it
beam
up
is
green.
being broken.
Yeah.
So you don't want that camera in.
We don't want that camera in there. Yeah. Okay.
Right,
That is
so
drained.
That's drained. That's gone.
Hopefully that battery would last had it not been drained.
About it's 2 hours.
Several hours.
we've got one or two things occurring. If something's breaking the beam, it's either going through there. No, it's either.
When we talk about tripwire, we have to understand or appreciate the concept as far as paranormal investigations are concerned, particularly the Bothell house. It's an easy concept to understand. You have two devices, the tripwire. One portion of the device emits the red beam, the other device receives it. When that beam has been established, meaning the beam is locked and is receiving well by the second beam, by the receiver, we'll call it the receiver, then your trap is set. And the only time, theoretically, for the beam to send out an alert, a siren, a loud noise, a beep, is when the beam itself is broken. And as you can see by the demonstration, something, a physical object, has to break the beam or is breaking the beam. Lucky for us in the Bothell house, we never had any pets, no cats, no dogs. When Steve Mara conducted his experiment in the Bothell house, this was the first time this experiment was conducted. No other paranormal team before Steve and Dawn thought to use tripwire. And it was very smart of Steve Mara, parapsychologist Steve Mara, to utilize the tripwire in the hallway upstairs. Those familiar with the Bothell case know, as I have claimed and stated, not only is the hallway a main thoroughfare for me and Tina while living there, it's the upstairs. It's where all the bedrooms are located. And you could say, even with two people, Tina and myself, the hallway receives heavy traffic. One of the claims I made prior to Steve and Dawn's arrival was the phantom footsteps, the pitter patter noise me and Tina would often hear while we were downstairs. That's important to mention. We are downstairs, me and Tina, watching TV, having dinner, and you hear so much activity coming from the floor above you. And it's coming from the hallway. You are hearing movement, physical noise that sounds like somebody is going from room to room. So Steve's experiment where he laced the hallway with tripwire, and like he said, within minutes of lacing the hallway with tripwire, the alarms did set off. I was there when this happened, obviously, and when Steve went upstairs, he was right. There was a sound of feet or pitter patter that was going in the opposite direction that Steve was arriving. Steve was arriving onto the upstairs landing, and in front of him, of course, he couldn't see it, but he could hear it, were these pitter patter footsteps moving away from both him and the tripwire. Interesting enough, as he's upstairs, Steve is, he's witnessing while moving, going in the direction of the noise. The second tripwire, which is at the end of the hall, begins going off after the first, which suggests or proves something is not only breaking one beam, but is breaking two beams as it's moving away from Steve and Dawn. Now it's interesting the direction that this something this pitter-patter noise was moving away from is the guest's bedroom, which is the farthest room in the Bothell house coming from the stairs direction. So as you can see, like again in the image in the video right here, tripwires are effective. They were very effective in the Bothell house. It's my opinion that the spirits, having not experienced this equipment before in the Bothell house, were rather curious and startled when the beam was broke. A plus or a benefit with tripwire, I believe, that sets itself above, in my opinion, infrared camera or passive infrared devices or alert detection devices of movement, is the tripwire will only ring or sound an alarm when the beam is broken. Should the two objects that you see in the video that are facing each other become unaligned, and there's a possibility that that could happen if you for just move one device just a centimeter or less, if that beam does not reach its receiver, then the entire thing falls apart. Meaning, if I was to bump it, if you were to place these two devices on a surface that was subject to constant vibration, for example, earthquake, cars traveling by, noise, meaning that creates a vibration that would just move one of these devices very little, just as much as a centimeter or less, then the beam becomes unaligned. When the beam becomes unaligned, meaning the red laser cannot reach its receiver on the opposite end, it will not set a trip alarm off. Okay? It will just not work. The beam will not work. You can disable a tripwire device by simply moving one of the devices, as long as you do not put an object, yourself or something else, in front of the beam before you misalign it. And that's very important because this limits, if not almost prevents entirely, false positives, false readings. A tripwire will not ring or set an alarm when the two devices facing each other no longer face each other. It would just simply not work. And after a while in the Bothell home, the spirits figured that out of how to deactivate one by slightly moving one of the devices. But I want to reiterate, when the devices are facing each other directly and they are within range as their specifications say they are, then any physical object will, if it breaks the beam, cause the alarm to sound. And the word I want you, the listener, the viewer, to capture in your mind is physical object. Something has to break the beam. Something did break the beam, as you saw in the video, and as Steve Mera has mentioned. I'll be coming back to this and sharing more throughout this video of this fascinating concept that was very, very beneficial to the Bothell home and to the investigation, and in my opinion and in others' opinion is superb evidence. Try to imagine you live in a two-story home and you're downstairs watching TV, having dinner with your spouse, your partner, your mate, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever, or sometimes you're by yourself and you're downstairs and you hear coming from upstairs movement. You hear footsteps. You hear, or I guess the sounds that you hear suggest that somebody is upstairs. But there's nobody upstairs. You're alone, or your partner, your girlfriend, your spouse, whoever, are downstairs with you. But you hear noise coming from upstairs, and to make it more, I guess, scary, is the sound you hear sounds like movement, like somebody is going from room to room or one end of the hallway to the other end of the hallway. Sometimes me and Tina, we would hear movement coming from upstairs. We're downstairs. And we would think, or from the sound, it would appear that somebody is in our room, one of the guest bedrooms, or one of the bathrooms. And they're moving back and forth. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's what I would describe as mass traffic, meaning multiple movements, like more than one person is upstairs. Sometimes this is really scary. The movement would come, you can hear the movement make its way to the second landing, the midway landing, or even more scarier, almost to the bottom of the staircase, which by then you're on the first floor. And if you give attention to it, you know, then they scurry or hurry and go back upstairs, and you hear this movement, this pitter patter, what I call right above your heads. You're downstairs, right above your heads. I can't think of a time where we've heard movement like footsteps while we were upstairs coming from the downstairs. Now we've heard noises, but this is different. And this is like there's traffic, there's other people in the home, and this happened a lot while living in the Bothell house, an awful lot.
Start playing lots of good, happy music, you know?
Yeah.
Real up-tempo, upbeat, everything you can think of, whatever you can do to make the place happy and warm and cozy and feeling positive. Any positive energy you can bring in, that's what you need to do, and that's what's going to stop the negativity. That's what's going to stop all the stuff that's bad. I heard that.
Yeah, and it's different. It's not house settling noises.
No, we're the distinguished.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's what's going to stop the negativity. That's what's going to stop. Start playing lots of good, happy music, you know?
Yeah.
Real up-tempo, upbeat, everything you can think of, whatever you can do to make the place happy and warm and cozy and feeling positive. Any positive energy you can bring in, that's what you need to do, and that's what's going to stop the negativity. That's what's going to stop all the stuff that's bad. I heard that.
Yeah, and it's different. It's not house settling noises.
No, we're the distinguished.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Laser tripwires. Now we'd set up this laser tripwire, and as you can see, this is one being set up. Okay. Now they're fascinating because if you cross the beam, they just simply alert you. Now, throughout the night, throughout the investigation, 3 days in, we'd been using infrared. Most people tend to use infrared in investigations, but we weren't really getting a lot. And we thought, okay, let's change the method, only because of one recording that we got. We got a recording, and by all intents and purposes, it said, when we were doing infrared testing, it bothers us. It bothers us. We didn't know. We were trying to figure out, what does that mean? What it bothers us? And we just sort of sat there at the table, rummaging around, trying to think what that might mean, when a little light bulb went on and thought, okay, are they referring to the infrared we're using? Don looked at me, I looked over at Don, and shrugged our shoulders, and okay, let's change the method of investigation. Let's drop the infrared, let's go with optical laser. And we did. And I'd literally set this up on the landing, literally, walked away, set it up, walked away. Now, there was 2 of them further down the corridor. And I got to the bottom of the stairs, and what happened was it went straight into alert mode. Beep, 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 all going off. What was interesting is, I immediately stopped, looked at Don, I turned around, this is all in within seconds, and I ran up the stairs. And as I ran up those stairs, I heard something running away. It sounded like small feet, sounded like a child. And what was really interesting is that it set off the second detector further down the hall, as if it made its escape. And I'm hot behind it, I'm running after this thing, I can't see anything, but I'm running after it. I'm running down the hall, it's set the next one off, it's headed it off before me into the back bedroom. Nothing there, no idea what it was. But we heard the small footsteps. It was like we were pursuing something like a child. But isn't it interesting that it went off immediately? Maybe it was just something that was checking out what it was, what the equipment it was. Maybe it was just something that panicked and ran off and was, of course, being alerted and being captured on.
One of the things I wish or hope the paranormal community would do that I have not seen is when we talk about evidence gathered or evidence found through an investigation, we often hear, the term good evidence or the word evidence. What we don't hear, or what I don't hear or have not heard, is, yeah, some evidence is good. Some evidence captured does make you say, that's interesting. That's unexplained. Science can't answer that. But we stop short. And I've not heard any paranormal researcher yet or investigator say, you know, what are the ramifications of the evidence gathered? What does this mean or suggest? In example number one, Patty Hale. When Patty was attacked in the Bothell house, there's a video of that on my YouTube channel. The night she was attacked, we are having a discussion in the hallway, and Patty says or asks me before going to bed. She was spending the night at my house, and she was going to sleep in the guest bedroom. And before going to bed, she asked me, should she close the bedroom door or leave it open? I said, feel free to close the door. Luckily, we had audio and video devices running, and upon review of this audio and video device, we picked up a male voice, who said in the middle of our conversation, in the midst of Patty asking me, should she leave the door open or close, in the middle of her asking, in the middle of me replying, saying yes, go ahead, a voice utters, they'll just go right through it. Meaning they'll just go right through the door. And that's what I refer to as a contextual EVP. Meaning the EVP coincides with the real-time discussion that's happening or is happening. And if we are to believe the voice that we heard, the entity said they, not it or itself, but it said they in the third person. They'll just go right through it, which suggests, and it's logical to accept this or to suggest that the entity is telling us right then and there they have the ability to go through things. Now that's very interesting. We've always thought or assumed that they could. We've have stories, myself included, of seeing things go through walls and objects and whatever. But then we have the tripwire experiment that Stephen Dawn and Nick Kyle conducted, and later on I conducted, later on Carissa, Nikki Novell conducted, and Richard conducted. But it started with Steve Mara and his team first. They were the first to execute and try using the tripwire. So the credit goes to them. And the paranormal community should, when investigating poltergeist cases around the world, should study the Bothell house, should study some of the methodologies that Steve and Dawn applied that led them to discover, and it's a very important discovery, because we always assume or theorize, but when you have the facts to back up your theory, then in my opinion you are on the right trail. And looking at the poltergeists in my house, in the Bothell house, have given the paranormal community a lot to digest, a lot to decipher. And one of the things they gave the paranormal community, who up to now has done a poor job in analyzing the evidence coming from the Bothell house. the paranormal, I'm going on record saying this, the paranormal community as a whole has done a poor job in analyzing the data captured from the Bothell house. The tripwire is one of the most profound, interesting experiments conducted in the Bothell house, as you have seen. It suggests and proves these entities, even though we can't see them, they're invisible to the naked eye. And there's all kind of theories as to why that is the case. But they have or did break the invisible red beams, which does suggest that they cannot see or did not see the beams like you and I did not see or could not see the beams. And that's very profound. That says a lot. And it also says that we should not equate, and I sort of did, the fact that we can't see them with the idea that they could maneuver throughout a house environment and go undetected. What I'm saying is the ability to appear invisible, notice I said the word appear invisible, does not equate to, in this instance, ignoring the laws of physics. Meaning, if an object goes through an invisible beam, and if it breaks that beam, it's going to sound an alarm. Okay? If an object was translucent, if an object was transparent, if an object was see-through, then it could go through the beam and its atoms not interact with the beam. Therefore, the beam is not broken. See, when we look at this from a physics point of view, the atoms, the poltergeist has atoms like you and I. Okay? It is subject to the laws of our universe. It might not come from our universe, and by that I mean dimension, but while here, it is subject to them. And by being subject to them, it has no control over violating, because it must adhere, like you and I must adhere. Therefore, number one, it could not see the beams. Number two, when it went through the beams, it set the beams off. Only a solid object can set a beam off. You would have to break the beam. There's two sides to the beam. There's up, down, left, right, left, bottom, up. The beams, meaning the invisible red beam, are facing each other, and once broken, will send out an alarm. We had multiple instances in the Bothell house where the beam was broken and no one was upstairs, which means the poltergeists, and that's what we're calling these things, we're calling them poltergeists or entities, when they move or maneuver, since they could not detect the beams beforehand, accidentally trip them off. That is what I am submitting to the paranormal community, because in my opinion, that gives us a keen understanding of what we're dealing with. Now, the fact that we can't see them with the naked eye is a different topic for a different chapter for a later day. But for today, and for moving forward, when investigators descend upon a home, they should have as one of their repertoires tripwire technology. And they should utilize it to either support my claim I just made, You can't debunk what I just showed you, but you can either support or disprove, therefore discredit the reliability of tripwires. We know all houses are different. We know all cases are different. We know all poltergeist cases are different, albeit they have a lot in common. But if the paranormal community is not incorporating standards by instituting, executing the tripwire technology, then why are you there? Okay? You're there to not only gather evidence, but you're also there to, after gathering that evidence, if successful, help discuss or begin the topic or discussion of the ramifications of that evidence. I provided you video showing you the noises coming from various parts of the house. That is noise. That is movement. That is air traveling from whatever origin place to our eardrum to where we hear that. What you hear is something moving like you and I are moving. Okay? So please study this video, study all the videos on my channel, and I hope we can finally move the ball forward in getting an understanding, a better understanding of poltergeist phenomena. Thank you, everyone. Good night.